Welcome everybody to the special City Council work session for April 14th, 2025. Maria, would you call the roll?
Fritz?
Here.
Lowe?
Here.
McLaughlin?
Here.
Manetza?
Here. This evening's work session is a presentation by City Manager Ashley Latch on the 2025 Department of Public Safety millage proposal. Ashley?
Thank you. So collectively over the previous 3 years, we've taken a number of different drastic steps to improve the city's fiscal health. We've cut positions, we've evaluated fees and contracts, we've modified our service level, sold excess property, and we ultimately have our staff operating at maximum capacity. One of the remaining potential actions that we've discussed as a group year over year is a public safety millage in order to support our current operations. With the department now at approximately 44% of the general fund and with growing critical departmental needs, I'm recommending that now is the time to proceed with an ask to our voters. Our current facility presents several critical issues for our operations. Over time, our needs haven't been addressed, leading to instances that you'll see in these pictures of excessive mold, water damage, a cracking foundation. We have cement falling from the soffit of our apparatus bay. We have asbestos in the bathroom tiles, a lack of ventilation in our range, and just overall impractical spaces that don't meet the functional needs of our department. We currently are at maximum capacity in our women's locker room, which limits our potential for growth. And due to limited lockers and space in the men's locker room, we often have to put some of our staff's belongings in storage closets rather than locker space. However, the most pressing issue is that our current facility does not have a decontamination space. This poses a tremendous health concern for our current officers and just quite frankly is a hindrance for recruiting new officers. And this is an absolute necessity, not a want. Furthermore, a significant portion of the department only has one set of turnout gear. This only amplifies our issue of not having an appropriate decontamination space, further putting our officers' health at risk. And much of our equipment utilized by the department lacks functionality or is expired, or we simply just don't have it. And along with various other capital equipment upgrades, as you know, we are faced with the impending replacement of our over 20-year-old ladder truck. This serves as an asset to the entire region. Is going to be at an anticipated cost of nearly $3 million. And just again, this cost is insurmountable, even with the city responsibly contributing annually towards a fire truck replacement fund. Our department is currently operating at very minimal staffing levels. Recruitment and retention have become challenging with an evolving public safety landscape as our call volume and complexity continue to increase. While call volume and demand has increased over time, we have not increased our department size, as you can see hopefully on the chart that's on the screen. Presently, we have no less than 5 open positions and are experiencing difficulty in recruiting certified officers for those roles. And this has created a dynamic in which our command team has ultimately been required to respond to calls rather than continue to build the capacity to execute a strategic vision in maintaining and advancing our department. As we continue to experience population growth, development, and having an aging demographic, the demands on our department are simply increasing. Development pressure combined with the needs of an aging community have presented evolving challenges with all of the additional context, again, surrounding our staffing challenges. We've had nearly 300 residential units added in the previous 4 years. We have an anticipated 275 units in just the next 2.5 years. And that's outside of all of the anticipated commercial and hotel development that we are expecting. And again, the complexity of the calls we are getting has escalated, particularly as mental health concerns become more prevalent in emergency response. More often than not, calls are now requiring 2 to 3 unit responses rather than 1. So our department is facing a growing need for specialized training and resources to address those evolving needs. And in addition to demographic and development pressures, our department is experiencing increasing operational demands as a small department in a community with over 100 special events annually. The department is already mandated to assist in over 60 of those events, but are ultimately tasked with evaluating all applications, completing inspections, monitoring status, placing barricades, completing traffic control orders, nonetheless patrolling. Our Department of Public Safety, as I mentioned, presently reflects 44% of the city's general fund budget. Research into municipalities throughout the state of Michigan reveals that our departmental operating costs are pretty average in comparison. We wanted to do a gut check and see if we were anything, in great excess of what other cities in the state are experiencing for departmental costs. And although the department has experienced rising personnel costs with the closure of the pension plan, the department has done its diligence to maintain fiscal responsibility in staffing, training, and how capital projects are prioritized. Often, as you'll see in the chart on the side, the department has successfully sought outside grants or funding to accomplish capital expenditures that have then not become a burden on our general fund. So although we've worked diligently to minimize expenditures and increase our revenue, the reality is that our financial obligations are leaving our day-to-day operations very restricted. We are dealing with, as you know, $34 million in unfunded pension liability. We have nearly $3 million annually in debt service payments that we're meeting, and an anticipated $30 to $60 million in Harbor Island remediation that the annual costs will just continue to increase until the issue is addressed. And even with these obligations, you can see on the chart above that the city has not made any move to drastically change our operating levy over time, with it remaining very similar to that of 15 years ago. So these are the greater commitments that the city is working to address responsibly, but these obligations limit the city's fiscal capacity and flexibility to meet the needs of the public safety department, especially given the critical needs that I highlighted previously. So, with all of that being said, I am recommending that City Council move to pose a ballot initiative to the voters in November, and I will be approaching you in May to consider a resolution to move that onto the voters for consideration. It'll be a 10-year millage at 2 mills, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Our public safety director and our finance director have assisted in this presentation and are available as well.
Thank you, Ashley. Questions?
Go ahead. No. I don't have any questions. I mean, I think you know that I have questioned this millage for 3 years because I still believe that there's some additional revenue that we can get out of this. That we could increase revenue in the city. But I had the opportunity to have a tour with the chief and with Ashley and Emily, and it does need some work. That facility is really, it's lived out its use, to be very honest with you. And, after taking a look at that, after taking a look at the proposal from Ashley, I'm going to fully support this. I think it's something that the voters should take a look at. And anything I can do to get this approved, I will.
I agree with you, Kevin, 100%. Moving forward with this, there is so many demands today for public safety. Have you noticed how the rest of the world has been around us, and that we need to step up and help support them with all the needs that they possibly can have? Because there's a lot of equipment that we don't have that we should have because we can't afford it, for one thing. But with a millage like this, at least to help us put us in the right bracket for them. The building was built, well, I was probably still in high school at the time. So it's been quite a while.
That's a long time.
That's been a long time. And it was designed for separate police and fire, and then we made it together. And it's been a hodgepodge put together pretty much. And It does need a ton of work and everything else along with it, but I think the equipment that they possibly need for the department is it's forever increasing. Though it's not going to get any cheaper. So if we could start off with some kind of millage to help and support, I'm all for it. I mean, I look around to all our neighbors. All our neighbors have that support for their police and fire. So I think it's a good move for us to move forward with it. I'm full-heartedly supportive of it.
Karen?
Right. I also had the opportunity to take a tour of your building, and I have to say that I was sad and I was a little ashamed as a city council member that we haven't been able to do more, or that I was that unaware of, just how bad it was. I'm just going to say it. I really think our Department of Public Safety deserves a lot better than that, and I think so. I'm very supportive of this. A couple things that I'd like to add, though, is that you have done a lot on your own to try to do these incremental improvements and make do with what you had, and I really applaud all that you guys have done. But this is sort of you got to start over here to optimize this space, and and address some of the things that you've outlined here. The asbestos, the crumbling, cracking foundations, the water damage, et cetera, et cetera. That's really not what you guys should be worrying about as you're protecting all of us. The one thing I didn't see in here, and maybe I just missed it, but we did talk about it, maybe consolidating the multiple storage places, locations that you have, if you have the ability to go up, another level. So I think that should be an option in here, because I think that also the time it takes for officers to have to go and retrieve something from, that's not a good use of their time as well. So I think that's just another part of this business case here, but I'm fully supportive of moving forward and putting this millage to the people. And I think if the citizens of Grand Haven are able, Chief, to go, to see from an open house, see what you all are dealing with, I'm confident that they're going to support this millage.
And I think I'm never afraid to go to the voters and ask them what they think about something. They will usually tell you, but I think we need to also make the case that public safety is a vital organization. They do a lot, and they do a lot with a little, and that going forward, the city isn't going to have a lot of extra resources to really make the department that much better in terms of either facilities, equipment, training, or personnel. That we do need this help. We've got a lot of demands on us in the coming years, and as has been said, you deserve better than you have. I've been in that facility a number of times over the years, and I knew what it looked like already, and so I know what you guys put up with. The decontamination room, that was something that I really didn't have a good grasp of until I realized that you were pulling the fire trucks out of the garage and doing your decontamination and washdowns there in the garage. It's like, really? No wonder that people look at it and say, well, even in terms of retention, it's like, this is what we have. So we need to do better. And I don't foresee the city being able to do a lot more with the resources we already have. So asking the voters to help out with an additional millage, I think is perfectly reasonable. I think that's a fairly easy case to make. So we're going to make that case, and we'll see what we can do about raising the extra money. I guess a couple of questions I did have. One, if I know that we've been struggling with staffing, I don't know what the optimum level of staffing would be and how we would get there, and whether that facility could even support an optimal level of staffing. I assume that would be more people than we have. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, or if we need to enlarge that facility or have a second one. That would be a ways off, but I mean, at some point in time, you'd have to ask yourself that question, whether that's the right place for an enlarged staff. and maybe that's not a question we can ask right this moment, but I think it's something we need to think about over the years. And I guess I'm curious to know about a lot of what you described has been either capital or equipment. And to some degree, we would have operational support out of this millage as well, whether it's training, whether it's to help with the salary pays, benefits, those sorts of things, or whether this takes the pressure off the rest of the budget so we can manage those things better. I don't know if you have any feeling for how this breaks down in terms of capital cost versus equipment versus anything else that we would need to do with the money.
I think it'll be a combination of those things, especially right off the bat. We'll look to provide probably a greater strategic approach, understanding the intention to pose it to the voters. But it'll probably be a combination of those capital and operational expenses to begin until we can at least address, first and foremost, the health and safety concern. That is the lack of decontamination space and appropriate gear, and certainly to offset some of the current operational costs.
Okay. Well, I mean, it all fits together and it all works as part of one big puzzle for the city. But this is certainly a piece that we're going to need. I don't know how we would accommodate any other way. So we're really to a point where something needs to be done. As far as additional revenue, there's probably ways to get additional revenue, but I don't foresee us filling this gap with incremental additional revenue that we might get here and there. So I think this is going to be a necessity. I think it's time. So I think it's time for us to move forward and promote it and let the voters make their decision.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, well, we're with you. At this point, then, you have anything else for work session?
I do not.
Okay, I'm going to adjourn the work session until 7:30 when our regular meeting starts. So at this point, we'll stand adjourned. I'll be back momentarily.
Dr. Dixon. Kramer's last name. Isn't it?
I don't believe it.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to this regular city council meeting for Monday, April 14th, 2025. Marie, would you please call the roll?
Fritz,
Here.
Lowe,
Here.
McLaughlin,
Here.
Manetza.
Here. Our invocation this evening is by Pastor Emmett Brown of Trinity Church. Please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Or evening. For my invocation, I want to start with an encouragement. Paul tells us in the book of Romans that it is not by accident that anyone is ever placed in leadership. Each one of you have been divinely called to the position that you're at. So with that, my encouragement comes from Philippians chapter 5. And it encourages you to let this mind be with you, which was also in Christ. That means leading by his example, sometimes making the unpopular choice, but making the choice that the Holy Spirit puts on your heart to make. With that, let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the fact that our leaders are not just given up to our whims. We're thankful for the fact that they aren't just placed here by accident or by circumstance, but that each one is put here by your divine appointment. And with that, Lord, I pray that you will be with each and every member of this council, that you will move on their hearts through the Holy Spirit to do what is right for this city, not to be influenced by others with other agendas, but just to do what you claim and what you feel is best for this great city, helping to make it better each and every day. We thank you, Lord, for a place where we can come together and hash out the things that need to be done for this city too. Bless this time. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item is the reappointment to a board and commission. Maria, would you please read that?
Yep. Item A, reappoint Paul Vandevoosy to the Compensation Commission with a term ending December 31st, 2029.
Can I get a motion on that?
So moved.
Second?
A motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Questions on this reappointment? Please call the roll.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. Next item, a new appointment.
We have item A, appoint Kara Mazur to the Human Relations Commission with a term ending of June 30th, 2025.
Can I get a motion?
So moved?
And
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Motion by Lowe, second by McLaughlin?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions on this appointment? Would you please call the roll?
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. And so Ms. Mazur would be making arrangements with the city clerk to take your oath of office. Thank you for stepping up. Okay, brings us to the approval of the consent and regular agendas. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Support?
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Lowe. Questions or any concerns or anything you would like to relocate within the agenda? Anyone?
No.
Relatively brief consent agenda this time. Okay, would you please call the roll?
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. All right, that brings us to our first call to the audience. This is the first of two opportunities. This time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether they're on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address, will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3203. Who would like to address council?
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Patty Nelson, and I live at 1820 Pine Court. And I'm here regarding the North Ottawa Community Energy Plan that's on the agenda for tonight. I had the privilege of serving on the Community Energy Plan Steering Committee, which met from June 8th of 2023 to December 5th of 2024, so a year and a half. I joined the committee because as a resident of the city, I was concerned about the long-term resilience and sustainability of our coastal community. The challenges we face demand proactive solutions, whether it's invasive species destroying our urban forests, or weather inconsistencies like droughts or late freezes, and of course, rising energy costs. The steering committee brought together municipal staff and citizen representatives from participating communities in the BLP service area: Ferrysburg, Greenhaven Township, and Greenhaven. And there were also 2 staff members from the BLP that participated on a regular basis. It was a collaborative effort grounded in a shared vision to preserve and protect the invaluable natural resources in our region. I trust that you all had an opportunity to review the plan, whether it was the very detailed plan or if it was the shorter summary. The detailed plan was quite technical. So whether you read the entire thing or not, you'll see that the plan includes actionable strategies to reduce emissions and cost-effective steps to build community. Is this going in and out? To build community capacity and infrastructure for clean energy initiatives. The City of Ferrysburg recently adopted this plan, and I strongly urge City Council to do the same. Implementation under the direction of the city manager will enable us to move forward with measures that protect our natural resources and enhance our resilience, and also limit the negative impacts of carbon emissions on future generations. Local actions matter. Even when federal policies are uncertain, communities like ours have the responsibility to lead. By addressing energy use and emissions holistically, this community energy plan provides a path towards environmental protection and sustainable, having a hard time with that word, resilient future for Grand Haven and the surrounding area. And I just heard some late-breaking news from Brittany that the City of Grand Haven will maintain its gold status for the Michigan Green Communities, but all the points we got that we haven't gotten before were all related to this plan. So it is an important plan. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Who else would like to address council?
Good evening, Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I'd like to talk a little bit more about our waste hauling contract. I've sent you a few emails on it, and I just wanted to make it available to the public. And what my request was that we pass a resolution on future waste hauling contracts where we go out for competitive bid. It's critical going out for competitive bid to get the best pricing, the best options possible. The last 2 contracts, we did not go out for competitive bids. So, you know, I guess CMO office talked with other communities this last time. I don't know what the previous time what they did. And they thought they looked, what was offered, I guess, looked pretty good. But I don't think it was as good as it could have been. When I went to Google and it came up with an AI search, so I looked at what the hits were, and this was on Republic waste hauling rates. For Renton, Washington, they were they had better options. I mean, they offered 5 different types of carts, and each of the cart was tiered in pricing. So if you had less garbage, you paid less. And so it went from $665 for the smallest one to looks like $37.23 for the larger one. When we looked at Grand Rapids, which they have pay-as-you-go type of, they were also much lower, and they also offered multiple cart sizes. So the message there is there's better programs out there than we have. And we need to go out and we need to look for programs and get them. The residents in this town probably pay upwards of $2 million a year for waste hauling services. You know, that's like $50 times 4,000 residences. So it's a substantial amount of money. We should be going out for competitive bids. The city goes out for competitive bids when it comes out of their budget for everything, whether it's a pickup truck, even smaller items. Why aren't we going out for competitive bids when a contract to the residents, which we pay for, it's not a contract to us, but it's a contract strictly paid by the residents, is so much money? I think we need to pass a resolution, or I should say, City Council needs to pass a resolution to make sure we don't see 3 in a row now. These contracts are very long periods of time, 4 or 5 years. And we're basically now stuck with what we have. So I really would like to see competitive bidding and actually good research. And with AI, it's out there. I don't know what our situation in the city is for people using it, but we should use it and we should have competitive bidding. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Who else would like to address council? There will be a second opportunity to address council at the end of the meeting. Of course, by that time, we concluded our business for the day. So if anybody else would like to address council, now's the time. Seeing none, we'll move on. And that brings us to our consent agenda. Marie, would you please read that?
Item A, approve the work session and regular council meeting minutes for March 17, 2025, and the special meeting for March 19, 2025. Item B, approve the bills memo in the amount of $1,553,695.53. Item C, award a service contract to Perma Green Tough Turf of Byron Center, Michigan, in the budgeted amount of $49,749 annually. And item D, approve the administrative services agreement renewal between the City of Grand Haven and Loudoun District Library to continue providing human resources and financial administrative services to Loudoun District Library.
Can I get a motion?
So move.
In support.
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Fritz. Any questions on any of these items?
Okay.
If not, would you please call the roll?
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. There is no unfinished business on our agenda, nor public hearing, so it brings us to our first item of new business. Please read that.
Item A, consideration by City Council of a resolution to adopt the Northwest Ottawa Community Energy Plan to be implemented at the direction of the city manager. The Sustainability and Energy Commission recommends approval, and the administration recommends approval.
Okay, can I get a motion?
So move.
Support?
Motion by McLaughlin, second by Lowe. Ashley, were you going to talk to this, or was
Yeah, so I can just
a member of the committee?
briefly introduce a member of the committee.
Okay.
Although Patty summarized it quite well. But again, we're really excited to bring this forward as the culmination of a 1.5-year long process with a lot of time and resources expended to finally see that final product. And here to speak on behalf of our Grand Haven representatives on the Sustainability and Energy Commission, and who also worked with Michigan Energy Options on this project, is Brittany Good.
Good evening. Thanks for having me tonight. As you know, this is one of my favorite things, being here at City Council meetings. I love it. Thank you for having us and for all your support through the process to complete the Community Energy Plan of Northwest Ottawa County. We are here tonight to ask you to approve the Community Energy Plan. This plan, along with master planning and other related work in Grand Haven, can help make this area a greener place to live and work in. As you know, City Manager Ashley Latch and much of the city staff has been involved in the creation of the plan since we began this process, which was about 3 years ago at the absolute planning stages. The City of Ferrysburg and Grand Haven Township have also been a part of the plan. Ferrysburg approved the plan several weeks ago. The Grand Haven Sustainability and Energy Commission, of which I serve, has also recommended the plan be adopted by City Council. Right now, the SEC is working towards prioritizing its work for the coming years, and assisting to implement the energy plan is coming out on top of the list. John Kinch, who lives here in Grand Haven, is on the SCC as well, directs the nonprofit Michigan Energy Options, which led the plan's creation. The plan includes oversight and input from a steering committee representing our region. The Grand Haven BLP's participation was also key to the plan, which has ambitious but doable clean energy goals over the next 25 years. In addition, City Planner Brian Urquhart and I just finished the Michigan Green Communities Challenge, and the areas in which we improved were all relating to the planning process. This will only get better once this plan is adopted by the City of Grand Haven. And we are all here to answer any questions, and just also wanted to note that as this is coming to a close here, the incredible collaboration between all of these areas, between the township, Ferrysburg, and Grand Haven, as well as all of the different people that sat on the steering committee with the BLP and others that we consulted. It was just absolutely an incredible experience, and I think the city should be really proud that we actually were able to accomplish this and finish this plan within the time frame that we were allotted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? And we had this presentation in January, now we have the final plan, and we have it in our packet. Any questions or comments from council members?
As I was reading the recommendation from the administration is that this is like all the other plans we adopted, but would not obligate the city to anything right now. And no immediate action on any of the suggested identified within the plan, and sets forth a guiding plan with specific targets and suggested strategies that staff can seek with a formal recommendation based on evaluation and anticipated budget. And also the individual actions will still have to come to city council, correct?
That's correct.
No matter what? Because there's some things on that plan that I'm not really fired up about. But I just want to make sure that future councils have a chance to say what to do and when they do it. And I don't want to strap them into thinking that they have to follow this if they don't want to. It's up to them, who they be at the time, or city manager, right?
Certainly, and these, as I said in the memo, are guidelines and suggested strategies. And as Brittany mentioned, we'll be working with the Sustainability Commission to prioritize them, again, based on anticipated impact as well as our budgetary availability and flexibility. And it'll ultimately, with a budget expenditure, come before you for final approval.
Yeah, because some of the recommendations for individual homes and stuff like that, I have looked iffy things about, when it comes to our citizens being as old as they are and that, and strapping down for finances for them. I want to make sure that we take in consideration that when it comes forward for them, to make sure that they're taken care of also, especially if they have, a lot of them have, gas furnaces, gas stoves and stuff like that. And if we require them to change over to electric, it's going to be another added cost to them as far as electrician that they can't afford, because our town is an aging town. We're losing some of our schools because we don't have children to be able to support them. So just want to make sure that we have that all taken care of in effect. And I just want to say thank you for everybody that worked on this. It's a really good plan. But like I said, I had some options that I did not real helped on, but I'm sure we can probably move forward as long as future councils and managers have a chance to say yes and no and what direction they want to go with this plan. That's my main concern.
Certainly.
I just want to thank as everyone has said, I mean, it's been an unbelievable collaboration of a lot of people, and a tremendous amount of time. And I want to thank everyone that was involved. I know how much effort you've put into this, and it's not, and to do it, kind of outside. Obviously you had guidance from the city, but, you drove this, and that's what, with John and everyone else. And I think that's what's impressed me more than anything, that, our individual citizens drove this, and I'm 100% behind it.
Thank you. Karen?
Yeah, I'm in support of this, and I in support of adopting this as our plan, and I appreciate the summary that you put together, Ashley. I have actually, in terms of just, I think it's similar to our forestry plan and other things. If we commit to a plan, we kind of want to empower our commissions to move forward on executing on that plan. I think what you put here, though, was really good is individual actions. You know, if there's a budgetary expenditure is required, that you would come back certainly to, you know, council. That's, I think, important to make sure we still have things, you know, aligned. But other than that, I'm very supportive.
Okay, thank you. And I think that the plan represents a lot of thought, a lot of effort, a lot of research. There's a lot of great baseline information, so we know where we are. There's a lot of strategies to tell us where we can go. There's nothing prescriptive here that would place requirements on private parties, but there's incentive here for the city to possibly get information, possibly seek financing, grants, funding that might help people to go there. So I think that still leaves a lot of options for the private party, but a role for the city and kind of to guide future policy or future results. And I think that, you know, when we go out and try to seek funding or help or anything, having a plan that we've adopted, placed on file, and said this is what we would like to do as a community is certainly a supportive document for that sort of activity. So I'm in favor of adopting this. I think in adopting it, it doesn't bind us to anything in particular, but it allows us to embrace a set of strategies which make a place for us in the future. And again, as Mr. Fritz was concerned, you know, certainly it would be anything with a budgetary implication would go through the city manager's office, would ultimately be approved by council. So there's nothing here that won't get at least 2 more levels of review before it would be implemented. But having it adopted and embraced by the city, I think, is certainly a positive step. So thank you for everyone who contributed to this. And I'm in favor of doing just exactly what we're here to do this evening, adopt this plan. So, any other questions or concerns?
No.
Would you please call the roll?
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. Thank you. All right, next item, please.
Item B, consideration by City Council of a resolution to revoke the Industrial Facilities Tax Exemption 2014-216 located at 1425 Ariel Drive, Grand Haven, Michigan 49417, held by West Michigan Molding, Inc., due to the company no longer owning and operating the facility. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Fritz, second by McLaughlin. Ashley, or let's see, who would be the appropriate person to explain this?
This item is being brought before you because in 2014, West Michigan Molding, Inc. received a 12-year tax abatement for facility improvements. Unfortunately, as of 2023, West Michigan Molding is no longer in operation, and they have sold the facility. Myself and our assigned appraiser from Ottawa County have reached out to the new owners multiple times, giving them advice on how they could potentially transfer the current IFT. They have not followed up on it, and at this point, we are recommending that we revoke the remainder of the length of the industrial facilities tax exemption. It would just be for the tax year 2026, which would have been the last year anyways for the exemption.
Okay, do we know if they made the investments that were being exempted by this
Yes,
IFT?
West Michigan Molding made the improvements. The reason why we are recommending that the IFT be revoked is because they are technically no longer fulfilling the operational side of their agreement when they asked for the industrial facilities tax exemption.
Okay, fair enough. People often wonder if we ever actually enforce the conditions of these. We do. Questions, comments?
No. Nice job.
All right, please call the roll.
Fritz,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. All right, next item, please.
Item C, consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Grand Haven and POLC Command, POLC Patrol, and SEIU covering the period of July 1, 2025 through June 31, 2028, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Ashley, would you like to comment on this?
Yeah, so after a few months of negotiation and evaluation, we've reached a tentative 3-year agreement with all 3 union groups. All of our communications were positive and constructive. So outside of the primary changes that we focused on this year were in regard to the Earned Sick Time Act. We had to make some modifications based on legislative changes. That was a very time-consuming discussion on all ends as the legislation was ever-changing up until implementation time. But outside of that, this year, we closed the pension, the last agreement. This year, we took a hard look and focused on some cost-effective recruitment and retention efforts. So in addition to the cost of living increase for those 3 years, which we benchmarked with state CPI, as you can see in the chart, for a further breakdown explanation of how we arrived at the figures that we did, but we focused on some small incentive benefits like longevity pay, increasing the health insurance opt-outs, which is mutually beneficial, education and certification, additional increases to those, and an increase to our vision benefit were largely the more notable changes within the contracts this go around. I'm happy to answer any questions beyond that. Emily is here as well, our finance director, to assist in things I cannot recall off the top of my head. But it was a very productive conversation. We met no more than 3 times with the union groups and again, felt it was very positive.
All right, questions, comments?
No, I just want to say thank you for all parties involved, working together and coming to a conclusion here that we can all accept. So I'm pretty happy. I want to say thank you to everybody.
I'll echo that. And thanks, Ashley and the team for putting this together. Union negotiations aren't always the easiest, and it's great that you could come to agreement. You don't surely want to extend this any longer than you have to, so.
Nope.
I'm supportive.
Aaron? And I appreciate that you kept council apprised during the negotiations as to what's going on, so we had no surprises here. We knew what was happening, and it's a team effort, and you guys did a good job with representing the city's interests, and our employees do a great job of doing their jobs and supporting the city and the citizens, so well done. Glad to see it come to an amicable conclusion and very positive outcome, so.
Thank you. We're very fortunate to have the outstanding staff that we do.
Any other comments? Please call the roll.
Fritz?
Yes.
Lowe?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Manetza?
Yes. All right, next item.
Item D, consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding between Ottawa County, the City of Ferrysburg, and City of Grand Haven for the city-owned open space between Ottawa Sands Park and the Kitchell-Lindquist Hartgerd Dune Preserve, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents. The Parks and Recreation Board recommends approval, and administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion on this?
So moved?
Support?
Motion by Fritz, second by Lowe. Who's explaining this one to us?
Mr. Lemke.
Derek.
Good evening, Council. Derek Lemke, Facilities and Grounds Manager and Liaison for the Parks and Rec Board for the city. Before you tonight is a memorandum of understanding that establishes a partnership between Ottawa County Parks and Recreation, the City of Grand Haven, and the City of Ferrysburg to cooperatively manage and preserve the Grand Haven open space, which consists of 2 parcels totaling 142 acres of undeveloped land that connects Ottawa Sands County Park in the Kitchell-Lindquist Hartgerd Dune Preserve. The agreement outlines the shared responsibilities, including planning, funding, maintaining trails, and other natural features. Also worth noting is by approving this agreement, the city is not legally bound to preserve the land in perpetuity and does not limit the city's ability to sell the property in the future. Joining us tonight is Gary Post from the Dune Preserve and Jason Shamblin from the Ottawa County Parks to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Okay, thank you. Would you gentlemen like to come up and say a word?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gary Post with the Kitchell-Linquist Dune Board. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of the chair of the Kitchell-Linquist Dune Board and Kurt Tahar, the operations manager, parks manager for the county park system. So both Mr. Shamblin and Mr. Tahar are also available. This has been an area of interest of mine for many years. This is a beautiful piece of property, but it's a little bit like an orphan child, and other than the musical fountain, most of this property is under appreciated and not looked after too often. And after a number of conversations over the last couple of years, working with Ottawa County Parks and city staff and my board, the Kitchell-Linquist Dune Board, we've crafted what we think is a very collaborative, creative solution so that we can have a light touch, but a set of eyes and concerned interest, working from the park, working with city staff, and working with our Dunes Preserve Board to help do an assessment of the natural features on the property and provide this information to city staff and to generally assist in looking out for this valuable property. And the representatives are here to hear from the Parks Board also to speak if you'll let. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Gary. So, Council, Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. So we're excited that Grand River Coastal Corridor and this piece of property, there are over 2,000 acres that we have acquired and amassed in this corridor, so the Grand Haven Dunes property being one piece of it. So the MOU simply lays the foundation for cooperatively working together to manage the natural resources, develop a plan for the site, and then how will it be operated, and we'll assist. Ottawa County Parks will assist with that, and the volunteers with KLH also. So we're pretty excited about it. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Questions from council? Karen?
Well, actually, for the public, I have no questions at the moment. I guess for the public's understanding, the city of Grand Haven owns a piece of property on the North Shore that's split into two parcels. One is about a 30-acre parcel, and the other is, what is it, Gary, 100 or 130, maybe, something like that. And the larger parcel is where our musical fountain sits on, but it's in between the Ottawa County Parks property and the Kitchell Dunes property in Ferrysburg. And so this proposal is about working cooperatively together so that we can enjoy the parks, perhaps with some continuous trails and keep all that up. So it's a memo of understanding so that we can work with our neighbors, the Ottawa County Parks, and it doesn't oblige our city taxpayers at this point in time for any additional expenditures, anything else other than the city staff that we're committing in terms of liaison, et cetera. Correct? Is that I just thought it would be good for people to understand what we're talking about here. I don't have any specific questions for you all. My only question for the city manager is, I assume the city attorney has reviewed this memo of understanding?
Ron had not reviewed this memorandum of understanding just because it didn't tie us or implicate us to any financial or otherwise any commitment. We could also approve this pending Ron's concurrence, if that makes you more comfortable with this arrangement.
Yeah, I think I would be more comfortable with him reviewing a memo of understanding, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you all would object to that.
I've got a question.
Okay. Go ahead with your question then.
Yeah,
Are
then
you
we
ready
can
to
talk
move
about
on?
Ron.
You have
That was
more?
my primary,
Okay.
Yeah,
because yes, because I did see in writing here, one of the things was, you said by approving this agreement, the city is not legally bound, and it doesn't prevent our ability in perpetuity to sell one or the other, parcels in the future. Not that that's something that we want to do, but I don't want to remove that through a memo of understanding, create any, obligation. That's why I thought maybe the city, I presume the city attorney would take a look at this to ensure that we weren't obliging ourselves to anything else. So that was my question.
Okay. Kevin?
My understanding, and I got involved with this, in fact, we met, it's been a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, to talk about this space, and at that time, I thought that the county was going to acquire it. And that really interested me, but I understand now that that can't be done. But in one of the sections here, it says, Grand Haven shall assist with natural resource management, blah, 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 but not limited to the coordination of restoration projects, wildlife management, pest management, and invasive species management. Are we liable for any taxpayer dollars to do this, or is that something that the county's going to do?
So I think each step of the way, as we look at a natural resources management plan or operations management plan, the city would have an opportunity to review that plan and then decide at what level it would want to participate.
Okay. It doesn't
That's the
say
way
that
it-
in here, but I just,
Nope, that's essentially the way, it's just we'll cooperatively work together, each major milestone or planning element. The city will be involved and have an opportunity to review it.
okay. All right, well, if, I agree with Karen, I think, I have nothing against it. I think Ron should look at it and make sure that these protections are in place. I'm not saying that we wouldn't participate, I'm only saying that I want to make sure that we have a chance to, something like the energy plan, to be very honest with you.
So then Karen, you want to amend?
I would, yeah,
Just hold it over.
if I could
Well,
amend it pending,
With Ron's approval.
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay.
Then we
I
just-
could do either. What would you all prefer? Would you prefer to bring this, postpone and bring this back after the city attorney?
I think we could just make it contingent on Ron's
Ron's
concurrence.
approval.
Because if Ron doesn't concur, then it's void.
Right.
Approve it with Ron's.
And
Well, then what if he has edits and,
Then it could come back.
then it's
then
going
he
to
could
come
come
back.
back?
But,
Okay.
I mean, if
All
we
right.
do it and he's happy with it, then we're done.
Okay,
I
that
just want
sounds
to
fair
make sure
enough.
that the protections that I've talked about is,
Yeah.
he feels comfortable with that, that's all.
Sure.
Okay.
So I think we could make that
So we can
amendment.
amend the motion?
Let's
to say-
let, Mike, did you have something to say?
No, I'm pretty well set. I agree if they want to have Ron take a look at it, it's okay. But I think we should move forward and adapt it with the amendment on it.
Okay, and I see, and I think that because there's plenty of caveats in this for us to not be bound either financially or we could always say no to whatever's here that comes up. It's just a good opportunity to collaborate, puts it in writing, the sorts of things we're trying to accomplish, and we still have all of our options before us. So I see it as a very positive move and very good opportunity to work with both Ferrisburg, Kitchen Lake, West Archer Dunes, and the county. And I'm kind of impressed that the interest was there to help us with this property while still not having anything that we must do or that's going to have possibly disagreements we can always back out of. So I don't see much there, but I don't disagree that having a legal opinion on it would be fine. And I think I'd just soon make this amended so that this is contingent upon Ron's concurrence, so that if he doesn't concur, then if we want to pass it, we'd have to take it up again, but if he does, then we're done. So we don't have to deal with it again. So if you'd like to make that amendment.
I'll make that motion to add to the end of that sentence, or contingent on the review and concurrence of the city attorney.
Okay. Can I get a second for that?
Second.
Okay, motion by Lowe, second by McLaughlin to amend the motion to add the concurrence of the city attorney as a condition. Can we vote on that?
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. Anything else on this, or are we ready to vote on the main motion?
I'm good.
Call the roll?
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. All right, sounds good. Really appreciate all parties stepping up to help us with this property. And yes, this has been a long time coming. We've had this property, some of it since 1909 and some of it since 1945. And it's just kind of sitting there. But it's a beautiful place.
Thank you for partnering with us, by the way. I think this is a really lovely way for us to work together.
All right, next item, please.
Item E, consideration by City Council of a resolution to amend Lakeshore Pickleball Club special event request for their August 14th pickleball tournament to include use of Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium for pickleball demonstrations, live music, a food truck, and alcohol sales with profits going to homeless prevention partners. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Fritz, second by McLaughlin. Let's see. Brian.
Good evening, Council. Brian Droz, Waterfront Events Manager for the city. After a previous council meeting where we approved the Mulligan's side, there were further talks with Lakeshore Pickleball Club, and we decided that we needed to amend our previous request. We'd like to add the stadium for the Thursday night of their event. They're going to bring in food truck, live music, and they're going to put up a pickleball court right in the stadium there. We're going to have a couple professional players come do a demonstration for the public, and just bring a really good opportunity for the public to come in, check out pickleball professionals doing what they do. They're partnering with Homeless Prevention Partners. They've done several events like this around the area. They're very familiar with all of our ordinances and such. Homeless Prevention Partners focus on children facing homelessness. That's kind of like their more focused cause. Yeah. Any questions?
Okay, questions? Question for Brian.
Brian, August 14th, did you say that was a Thursday?
Yes.
Or a Thursday, and it's an evening demonstration or a?
Yep,
Like
maybe-
starting at?
I can't remember right off the top of my head what the start time was. I want to say it was about 5:30, going until about 8:30.
Yeah.
They'll be out plenty of time for musical fountain.
Good.
Sounds like fun.
Pickleball courts were packed today, so
Yeah.
plenty of interest.
And this is in addition to an already approved project, or already approved event.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And so there are no new waivers being requested or available to them because they've already got them?
Correct.
Okay. Other comments or questions?
No.
It'll be interesting. You're gonna have kayak there to fish the pickleballs out of the river?
They float.
Just float downstream.
They float.
All right, any other questions? Please call the roll.
Fritz,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Manetza.
Yes. That concludes our new business for the evening. Which brings us to our report by city council. Who would like to go first?
I'm good.
April 26th is going to be a fundraiser down at the Eagles. It's a beer and wine tasting thing to help support our Central Park fountain, which is dire needs of lots of repairs. I encourage everybody to come down and participate and make a donation and help us out. The city has some money earmarked already to help go along with this, but it would be very helpful if we could get somebody to come down there and participate in it and help Brother Eagles out to make it a good fundraiser for us. That fountain's been here, I mean, I remember when I was a little kid, I used to go up there all the time and bring my little radio along. In fact, I thought that was my musical fountain at the time. But I did the same thing with my kids. We'd walk over there and spend time over there, and as you sit in the park and watch, you see the kids always climbing on it and that. So it's kind of like a stable for us, and I like to see it being redone. It's still got the floodlights. I think the same thing when I was a kid. I think that's how long they've been there. It's in dire need of updating. So it'd be nice if we could get people to go out there. That's on April 26th. That'll be at the Eagles. It'll be from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. They're going to have raffles and silent and live auctions, of which we're the rebuilding of the fountain itself. So that's my report.
That's the Central Park fountain?
That's Central Park Fountain.
Okay, not the musical fountain.
No, it's not the musical fountain. It's the Central Park Fountain.
Okay, very good. Kevin? Karen?
And just a little fact, history. That fountain is from the late 1880s. That fountain used to be in front of W.C. Sheldon's Miraculous Springs Resort.
Yep.
And then it was moved later when that, I don't know what happened to that property, but it was leveled and something else was built there, and they moved it to Central Park, and it's been there ever since. So it's a part of our Grand Haven history,
Absolutely.
big part.
Anything else?
Yes, happy birthday, a belated happy birthday to fellow council member Fritz.
Well, thank you so very much.
We're not gonna sing
And
to you
as I said
tonight,
earlier,
but-
wish your mother a happy birthday. Sing
You can
it.
say that,
We
she's
should.
watching right now, so,
Okay.
Oh, happy birthday to you, so I'm most appreciative.
thank you.
Yep, no, very good, thank you. And happy birthday to everyone who's having one. Yeah. And, yeah, I don't have a lot to report. Speaking of fountains, I've been out at the musical fountain a couple of times working on scraping the gaskets off from the inside of pumps and changing the leaky butterfly valves on some of the circuits, and it's kind of fun. Get out there and get your hands dirty. So, but I get that opportunity too. Other than that, it's been a long time since our meeting. We had 5 Mondays in March, so there was an extra Monday there. Then we had spring break, and here we are again after all this time. So good to see you all again. Yes, sir.
I have one more thing I want to bring up, and I've noticed it all over town. We've had this MetroNet and all these other people coming in our town and digging up things. And it really bothers me the most is when I was over to my sister's house, which she has over on 6th Street, I seen water flowing down the street. And as I walked down there, I see our crew coming over there, but there was no tags, no nothing. They went ahead and drilled down Elliott Street. There was no markings for sewer, no markings for water, and they ended up hitting a water line and rupturing it there. I don't know what our expenses are, but I think we should have an expense account for them. When it comes overtime like that, we need to actually charge them more than what we normally would do, because the simple fact is, they're being haphazardly and doing a lot of things. I've noticed it around town. It's not just there, but it's been all over. They've hit different things, and it's just, our guys have enough to do as it is, yet alone to respond to something like that. When you have an emergency response, I think we should have an emergency account to charge them for it. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but it bothers me a lot.
Yeah, they definitely should compensate for damage they do and for response.
Yeah, well, we should have something there for emergency for
Well,
them.
in particular, if they didn't have the utilities flagged.
They weren't flagged on that.
We have so many flags around town all the time. It's like the new city flower, all these flags everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I live on the corner of Washington and Dispelder, and it seems like it's just been continuously putting flags in my yard because everything seems to run past my house one way or the other. So I'm surprised they would directionally bore without knowing what was there.
Yeah.
That's pretty dangerous thing to do.
But I want to give a kudos out to our crews, getting on it right away and taking care of it and going above and beyond, because we have enough to do in their own jobs, and yet alone have this added to them. It's another expense for us. It's double the expense, actually, because we're losing time getting other things done that we need to do in town.
I agree on that. It's not just the cost of doing it once, it's the opportunity cost. Takes them away from things that they, were doing for the city. So I think we should set that aside and really calculate what we need to be reimbursed.
Should be included in our fee schedule,
Yeah,
frankly.
good
You
idea.
know, figure out what the cost is when you go out and on a per hour basis. And
So when they have access to our rights of way to do this work, Is that sort of thing covered explicitly as far as damage they do?
Dana may be able to chime in additionally, but I know at minimum they're required to, fix the issue and then pay for restoration of the property. I don't know beyond that.
Yes, that's accurate. There's no language in there specifically about staff time going and addressing any sort of issues.
Because that's our water distribution, which is our citizens, and they're drinking that stuff, and they come and do this kind of stuff. It disrupts everything for us. They just can't hire anybody to come and do that. You gotta have licenses to do it like we have. Our guys are trained to do that, so I just wanna make sure that we're being very compensated for, is what I'd like to see.
Yeah. Yeah, we can certainly take a look at it. I know that line you were talking about, Mike, just for additional context or information, it was a line that was abandoned, and we didn't know that it was there. So it was kind of a perfect storm in that particular situation.
But there was no markings. I was down there, even the neighbors down there were saying, where's the markings for any of the water? Even if it was an abandoned line. I have an abandoned line on my side of my house also.
Yep.
But there's, and it's all marked. But there was no markings on Elliott from 7th Street to 6th Street. The only thing that was marked, I think, it was the gas line, and that was it. There was no water, no sewer, and all these houses, I mean, the one is a brand-new house, so I know they had to have some kind of water put in there. You gotta have water in these houses. I hope so.
Absolutely.
We're billing them for it.
Absolutely.
We're billing them for
Yep,
sewer too.
100%.
But there was no flags, no markings, no nothing on that street. That's what we were all looking at going, why are they even drilling here? It's not done yet, not ready for them. But
Yep, and it's clear that they should not be doing any work unless they have flags and they've been out in the mark.
I understand.
Yep, that is something that we're trying to continuously monitor and course correct as situations come up, unfortunately.
I just brought it up because it bothers me a lot,
Yep.
and I thought people out there can hear that we are actually concerned about what's going on in our town.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We struggle to control our rights of way. We have so many utilities, and it seems like we have little control over who goes where and when. And our rights of way are getting filled up with these. And Rob Shelley recently commented that it's hard to set a new utility pole for fear of hitting one of these fiber optic lines or something that's in the right of way. And we don't seem to be able to say no to anyone. And now it sounds like we struggle to get them to compensate us for fixing the problems they create. So it's good to have these utilities and offer them to our people for options. We still have to control our rights of way. So, anything else? Ashley, you're up.
Not a whole lot. As you said, coming in off some additional time between meetings, but we are coming back full force. So we do, just as a reminder, have our budget work session that's open to the public tomorrow at 6 p.m. at Central Park Place.
Okay. So not here, but at Central Park Place.
Yes, in the ballroom.
Okay. There'll be plenty of room.
Oh.
Yeah.
There'll be no dancing, but there'll be plenty of room.
There could be dancing.
Yeah.
Well, it
rule
could
it
be,
out.
but it won't be me.
Dress appropriately, we're in the ballroom.
All right, well, that's it?
That is all.
All right, then that brings us to our second call to the audience. This time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address, will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to call in may dial 616-935-3203. Who would like to address council?
Good evening again. Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I'd like to thank WGHN and for a story that they published on April 10th about Grand Haven BLP adding another 2.2 megawatt of solar energy. The array came online. It's the Brantwood Solar Array. It came on in Calhoun County, and that energy is equivalent to 528 homes in Grand Haven. And just a little bit of information. If you remember, the Harbor Island, the site of the office building and the coal pile could support a 2.63 megawatt array, which is enough for 600 and odd houses. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else? If no one else would like to address council, that brings us to the end of our agenda. So I will close this meeting. Thank you for coming. All right.